Just a reminder to keep your cell phones turned off while we're in the forum. My name is Mike Huff. I'm the Government Affairs Chairman for the Kerrville Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. Great crowd tonight. Glad you're here. And welcome to the April 17th, 2023 Candidate Forum. In many places around the world, this forum will not be an option for people interested in public service or their constituents. It is a privilege to stand here before you tonight and represent one of the partners presenting this forum, Kerrville Area Chamber of Commerce, Schreiner University, and the Sumners Foundation. You are all familiar with the Kerrville Area Chamber of Commerce and Schreiner University. I'd like to take a brief moment to share with you a little of the history of the Sumners Foundation. Hatton W. Sumners was born in 1875, raised on a farm, and had little formal education. Despite this, he was driven to educate himself about the law and the Constitution, and was elected as prosecuting attorney to Dallas County at the age of 24. At that time, he described as just emerging from the Wild West days. In 1912, he was elected to Congress and served there until his retirement in 1947. Quite a period of our history, just before World War I started and 2 years after World War II ended. He was an extraordinary public servant, respected and admired by his colleagues. He was universally recognized as a man of great moral courage. The purpose of the Sumners Foundation is to encourage the study, teaching, and research into the science and art of self-government. Thus, in our democracy, we have an obligation to actively participate, educate ourselves, and be informed. The Sumners Foundation and Schreiner University have a long-standing partnership that provides students with exceptional opportunities to earn scholarships and participate in a variety of engaging citizen and self-governance educational sessions, public policy conferences, and speaker series. Tonight's forum is a manifestation of a request from the Sumners Foundation to encourage and allow our Sumner scholars to actively engage in the study and research of the science and art of self-government. This is an ambitious undertaking for students, and they cannot be spectators in this and expect to be successful. Our moderators tonight are three Schreiner Sumner scholars, Noah Platt, Jenna Hartmann, and Zachary Lyman. This is also an opportunity for citizens to hear from candidates for city council and school board seats. And again, thank you all for being here. There's a couple of guidelines I'd like to go over before we start. We are recording this evening's forum for the Chamber YouTube channel. The moderators will draw a number to determine the order in which candidates are presented the first question. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement, 1-minute response time to each of 5 questions posed, and a 2-minute closing statement. There will be no live questions from the audience. The Chamber has collected questions ahead of time, and our moderators will do their best to cover your topics. If you do not hear your question presented tonight, or if you hear something that sparks maybe a different question, we encourage you to contact the candidates or their offices. We ask all candidates and audience members to be respectful and allow for constructive conversations. We will hear from City Council Place 1 candidates first, then City 2 candidates, and then we will hear from the KISD School Board Candidate 2 candidates. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce to you our first moderator, Schreiner University Sumners scholar, Noah Platt.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Kerrville City Council Place 1 Candidate Forum. I'm Noah Platt, a junior Sumner scholar here at Schreiner University. As was just mentioned, to ensure a nonpartisan environment, I'd like to remind the candidates and the audience of a few rules and procedures for this forum. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, and a 2-minute closing statement. These time limits are strict, and a timekeeper will monitor the time. We do have a timer visible at the back of the room. If any candidate exceeds their allotted time, as the moderator, I have the right, according to the agreements each candidate has signed, to interrupt, even if your thought has not been completed. Furthermore, it's essential that all responses focus solely on each candidate's positions and opinions, not on the other candidate. As the moderator, I may interrupt any candidate if I feel that their response is straying from the subject. Candidates are not allowed to interrupt, crosstalk, or question one another. If any such infraction does occur, I'll pause the conversation and return the lost time to the candidate who is responding. Now, finally, to the audience, I ask that y'all would refrain from applauding or demonstrating support or non-support for any candidate or their responses. This will help maintain a nonpartisan environment throughout the forum discussions. So with that, if y'all would please bring a warm welcome to candidate Guerriero and Garcia. As drawn from the nice silver bucket there, candidate Guerriero, you'll start first with your 2-minute opening statement. Yes, there's a microphone.
Hello. Hi there, I'm Layng Guerriero. I moved here about 10 years ago with Karen Guerriero, and we're like a lot of people. We came from Houston, and hopefully we shut the gate on the way in, but it didn't seem to happen. So anyway, my background is I went to Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas. I was a college Republicans president and founder there, and I had small businesses and ended up working for Service Corporation in Houston, Texas. Houston is sort of the death capital of the world, and I was working there for about 6 years before we came here. Karen and I, we lived in Houston, and we wanted to know, are we going to stay here or are we going to move to the Hill Country? And so our kids were graduating middle school, and then one was going into high school, and we decided just to move right away. So we came to Kerrville, and it was really nice. We enjoyed soccer and baseball and Little League. Karen got involved with the PTO. And then I just was working, my job and taking care of the kids. And so eventually, though, we got more involved in the city. Karen got more involved in animal services. And with her friends, they started a nonprofit called Kerrville Pets Alive. And then I actually was on the bond committee for the public safety facility, and then ended up at the short-term rental committee after that. And then after that, I was involved in the Upper Guadalupe River Foundation, and we're currently building or trying to raise money to build a community center on the Guadalupe River. So as far as community involvement, we're really engaged with the city. I'm a small businessman. I have conservative principles, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia.
Test. Well, thank you so much. I want to first start off by thanking the three of our hosts for hosting this wonderful event. I think it's so important that we have these types of events, and thank you all too for showing up and being here, because it only demonstrates how important this is and how interested and involved every single one of you are. And all of you know so many people throughout the community too, so this isn't the only time. Make sure you're sharing the word when you go out there. But the reason why this is so important is because local government is the closest government to people. It's the closest government to home. And that's why I decided to run for office in the first place. One of the other factors was that the decisions that our officials make, they don't only affect the people that are in this community and in this room right now, they affect my generation, and they affect future generations after me. So what better way than to make sure that we have a person on the city council seat leading our community who not only has an eye to the future, but a respect for the culture, history, and heritage that our city has right now, and is working alongside all the current generation and all the other older adults to gain the wisdom, the knowledge, and the experience that you have, so that whenever I am in that seat, I know that the decisions I am making are going to be the best for our future, for generations to come. And that's been my focus. Aside from my government experience, I've been heavily involved in our community. I was actually on the board of the Kerrville Little League, and on city council, I made sure that when we use your money, we would do it responsibly and with the proper plan in place. And so I was the one who first made sure that when we do that, and with the public safety facility, I voted to make sure we had a plan together to create the public safety facility committee, and that we address those issues that are so dire need to make sure that we continue to serve and protect our community. I believe I have what it takes to continue serving you from these past 2 years that I have been already, and I look forward to continue doing that should you have me for another 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, and for this one we'll start with Mr. Garcia, is what 3 actions would you undertake on the City Council to promote and expand local tourism as well as economic growth in Kerrville? 1 minute on the clock.
So I think first, when we're looking at this question, we need to also pay attention to what are we doing for the people that are here in this community right now. This is your taxpayer dollars going towards all of these projects. And so essentially, you know, as much as it's great for people to come to Kerrville, and I love to show off our home, this has been my home for 18 out of the 21 years of my life, and as wonderful as it is for people to come here, we also need to remember that we have people who are here right now. And so when we look at all of these projects, we need to make sure that we're focusing, though, on the essential ones. Those go first. Our main infrastructure, streets, water, and sewer. And then we can start focusing on what we're going to do to bring tourism and other elective and non-essential projects. Our river trail is a great example. I love the river trail. I know a lot of probably people here in this room love it too and walk it occasionally. We can work with our downtown and our Main Street Advisory Board to help how we're going to revitalize downtown, because that's a main attraction for our community, and we actually have some people who are probably on that board. So I think we just need to make sure that that's great when we bring tourism and attraction, but let's also focus on making sure we're providing the essential needs for people who are here too.
Thank you. Candidate Guerriero, 1 minute, same question.
So the importance of having these amenities is attracting people. We have nurses that come here and they're in their 20s and 30s, and if we don't improve our amenities, like the river trail or like maybe the river center, if we don't focus on having places for people to go to enjoy life, then we're not going to be able to retain those people. So it's real important to have these different places of a quality of place, is what they call it. And what we don't have right now, as far as the quality of places, it's hurting us in the business world because we can't retain these people. We can't attract people from San Antonio and Austin. So it is important. And streets are important, but these things are also very important if you want to keep people coming to Kerrville and staying in Kerrville.
Thank you. Next question, for this one, Mr. Guerriero, you'll go first, 1 minute. Is given the divide and volatile political climate, how can you and will you fairly represent all citizens of Kerrville, and what actions will you take to do so?
Absolutely, because that's our main problem right now. We have a lot of division in our town, and I got to tell you for sure, you know, there's more that unites us than divides us. And, you know, there might be differences between the two of us, but it's important for y'all to remember that, you know, we're a community here, and we have to stick together. So after this election, win or lose, it's real important that we stay together as a community. It's really important that we do that. Now, as far as keeping the division, I think there's a lot of people, maybe personalities, stirring the pot about different things, you know, and it may get votes, it may get clicks, it may create some sort of buzz, but it's hurting us as a community. And I just wanted to say that after this election, when it's over, win or lose, we have to all come back together.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia?
I think it's so important that we have a city council who represents everybody in the community. We're elected at large, and we're elected nonpartisan. We don't have an R or a D or an I next to our name when we get elected. We represent everybody. But what's also important to remember is that we are elected based on the principles that we hold and the people who elect us in that office. But what's important to remember is that when it comes to making decisions for the council and the deliberations we have, some have said that I'm divisive on council or that I'm uncivil. With all due respect, I think we need people who are going to come and ask questions to city council and who are going to come and want to have discussions and not just come to the meeting ready, prepared to pass everything, because the public needs to know what's going on too. And I think it's so important you take a topic and you put it right in front of us for all of us to discuss in this room. We cannot all say that we're all going to agree on that. So if city council is supposed to be the representative body of the city government, of the city council, and of this community, we should be able to openly and welcome new ideas to the table.
Thank you. Thank you. Now for the third question from our audience. What is your stance on increasing taxes and budgeting differently in the future? And how will you ensure transparency and efficient utilization of taxpayer funds? 1 minute, Mr. Garcia, you'll go first.
Thank you. Well, I think I demonstrated that I want us to be transparent and accountable and open to the public whenever I voted no to just go straight forward and issue and incur $7 million of debt for a new facility when there was not a proper plan in place to do so. The taxpayers did not know where your money was going to be going. The city council didn't know. And so I think it's so important. That was an example that I think I displayed to the community. This is what we need to do. And if we're going to incur debt on the backs of the taxpayers, we need to make sure we have a proper plan in place and know exactly where that money is going. And so doing that, we need to come together, come to the table, and when there is a proposal for that, we can say, 1, do we have the money to do this? 2, if we don't, if we're going to need to incur debt, let's make sure we have a plan, and let's make sure we present it to the public and that they know exactly what we're doing. I think I've demonstrated that throughout the city council. I'm fiscally conservative with what I'm doing, and whenever we had my very first budget that I voted on, I'll end with this, I voted to lower the property tax rate so you didn't feel as much of an impact.
Thank you. Mr. Guerriero, 1 minute, same question.
So the difference between that and me is that the city staff gave a recommendation, and it was a very good recommendation. It's not a go along, get along thing. If you don't trust your city staff, how can you operate? So as far as the public safety facility, we ended up delaying that, and I actually voted to delay it and have a vote. However, it ended up costing us a lot more money later because of the delay. So you've got to make good decisions in city council, and if you can't trust the people that work for you, then you've got to think through yourself, like, is this the right thing to do? So we tried to solve one problem, but we created another.
Thank you. Next question for candidate Guerriero, or actually both of you, but starting with candidate Guerriero. How will you tackle the issue of affordable housing in the city of Kerrville?
So the affordable housing is a huge deal. Other than public safety, affordable housing is the next in line. So we have workforce housing, and we have regular housing or community housing. We have housing for people who may need efficiencies. And I've heard that we need 3,500 units. We're way back in behind, and like I said earlier, the nurses that are coming here, it's not just quality of places, they have no place to stay. So we can hire all the people we want to come to Peterson Health, and they work for a while, and then they have to leave because there's nothing there. So it's important to address the issue right away. And in my campaign, what I want to do is a 2-year plan, not a 2050 plan, a 2025 plan, where we have if it's an emergency, it's a crisis, let's treat it like such, and let's have measurable milestones to get through this issue as affordable housing, as we go through the solutions and steps, and have measurable milestones for that, and then also tackle higher paying jobs and attracting more businesses here to give us a higher base wage for the people who want to live.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, 1 minute.
So during my tenure, and there are other city council members can also attest to this, we've been working with developers to figure out what can we do to bring affordable and attainable housing for our city, because that is such a dire need. And as a young adult, I know how important that is too. For people who work every single day, every level of income, it's important that we have the housing in place for them. But what's also important is, what are we doing to bring developments to our city? Are we giving away almost $2 million worth of land like the city council previously did? Or are we going to take a fiscally conservative approach to that and make sure that we don't give away the citizens' land for a development that we haven't seen the results for almost 3 years? Because at the same time, as much as we need that development, I also understand that and recognize my responsibility to manage your property, manage our land. And so I think that's so important. We need to accomplish that goal. At the same time, we need to figure out what are we doing to do that, and we need to make sure that we're addressing the infrastructure concerns in order to facilitate this additional development.
Thank you. For our last question before closing remarks, public safety was mentioned earlier, and this is the fifth and final question. What 3 steps would you take to guarantee public safety to the citizens of Kerrville? 1 minute, candidate Garcia, you'll go first.
3 steps?
3 steps.
Okay. I think it's first important that we realize the main job of government is not to try to over-regulate our citizens. It's to make sure that whatever we do is for the health and safety and the benefit of our community as a whole. And recently, we passed an ordinance, with me the only vote, no, to pass an outdoor lighting ordinance that says, not only are we going to make you restrict and shut off lights or in certain degrees decrease your lights outside your property, but inside your property. Who feels safe when you have to dim your lights outside your personal property and your home or at your business? That's important. And then 2, with the public safety facility, I'm for the men and women in blue and our first responders who protect us. I was in favor of that in the first start. But at the same time, we need to make sure, what are we going to do? And so now that we have the $45 million bond, let's make sure we take a fiscally conservative approach to make sure this development happens properly.
Thank you. Mr. Guerriero?
Okay, so number 1, we have to make sure that we're paying our police officers the right amount of salary, because we'll lose them to other counties like Gillespie if we don't get up there and make sure that they're getting a proper wage. The second thing that I would do is make sure that we have the police, the Kerrville Police Department and the Sheriff Department talking better to each other about animal abuse. Animal abuse is a big deal. Animal abuse is sort of an early indicator of spousal abuse, elder abuse, mass shooting, things like that. Bad people do bad things, and they start off with the animals. So we want to make sure that we're catching these problems before they manifest themselves into somebody who's going to do bad things. The third thing that I would do is I think we need to look at all the river trails and the parks and make sure that we have a comprehensive safety plan in place to make sure that our river trails are safe, so that people are, when they jog through the park, we may not have a lot of crime right now, but we can't wait for someone to be raped or have some kind of major tragedy on the river trail. We need to address that and be proactive about that and take care of that right now.
Thank you. You'll now each have a 2-minute closing remark, and just like the opening remarks, candidate Guerriero, you'll go first. 2 minutes.
So I ran because I think there's just too much division in this town. I know people don't like to hear that, we need to argue, and some people have said, well, you're a go along, get along, or a yes man. I am not. I'm just a person who understands that if you want to get great things to happen, you have to work together. So my slogan is working together, because we have a strong city staff that needs to be encouraged, and we have strong city council that needs to be worked with. And that's my focus of my campaign. I also have 35 years of experience. I've worked in major companies, publicly traded companies. I've managed budgets. I've had small companies, large companies. I've signed both sides of the paycheck, and I have real life experiences. And to me, Kerrville is not full of constituents. It's full of families and friends. So for me, I feel honored to be even here in the first place. But I would be very honored to have your vote come May 6th. So don't forget, early voting is April 24th. But But I really do appreciate the chance to run for office, and I hope you see me as the candidate.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, 2 minutes.
It has been the honor to serve this community for almost 2 years. You took a chance on me. You took a chance on somebody that was young. And I actually looked back at some pictures the other day whenever I was at the Ag Barn on my first election and thought, how in the world were people thinking that they were going to vote for this 17 or 18-year-old? But you took a chance on me. And I think I have proven myself, now that I'm running for re-election, that I am running on a proven record of working for the citizens of Kerrville. A resume is great. I have so much experience outside of what I've done on city council. But we also need to make sure that our city elected officials are in touch with the community. I'm happy to go to any group of people and meet with you about your concerns, your issues. People in this room can attest to that. I embrace differing viewpoints because it's only then will we actually come together to solve the issues that our community is really facing. I think it's so important that you have a city council member, and I think the citizens deserve a city council member who is honest, transparent, who is willing to work hard and ask the tough questions even when sometimes they may be a little unpopular, but to get to the bottom of the issue. And I think you deserve a council member who will exhibit respect, professionalism, integrity, and yes, civility towards all the citizens, the fellow council members, and the city staff. I believe on my time as a city council member, I have exhibited those qualities through my actions, and I now have the proven experience to continue leading this community moving forward for another 2 years if you would have me. I'd like to remind you, early voting is starting the 24th, just a week from now, 7 days, kicking into the next gear. We're gonna keep going like a marathon. And I'm so honored to have this opportunity to speak to you and hopefully answer some of your questions. And I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, both candidates. Let's give both our candidates a warm round.
Welcome to this evening's Kerrville City Council Place 2 Candidate Forum. I'm Jenna Hartmann. I'm a senior scholar here at Schreiner University. I would like to say the same spiel as before. To ensure a nonpartisan environment, I would like to remind the candidates of the rules and procedures of this forum. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, and a 2-minute closing statement. These time limits are strict, and a timekeeper will monitor the time. The timer will be visible to each candidate to keep them aware of how much time remains. If any candidate exceeds their allotted time, as the moderator, I have the right, according to the agreement each candidate signed, to interrupt them, even if their thought has not been completed. Furthermore, it is essential that all responses focus solely on the candidate's position and opinions, not other candidates. As the moderator, I may interrupt any candidate if I feel that their response is straying from the subject. Candidates are not allowed to interrupt, crosstalk, or question one another. If such an infraction does occur, I will pause the conversation and return the lost time to the candidates who was responding. Finally, I ask the audience to refrain from applauding or demonstrating support or non-support for candidates. This will help maintain a nonpartisan environment throughout the forum discussions. And I'd like to invite Barbara Jewell Ferguson and Jeff Harris to the table. Alrighty, so we'll begin with the opening statement, and lovely Daniel over here chose a card for candidate Harris to go first.
I know it'll work because I just did it. So my name is Jeff Harris. I'm a 17-year resident of Kerrville. Moved here from Austin. Could not wait to get here fast enough. But when I was offered a position at River Hill Country Club, I had to ask what Kerrville was. So this is definitely the jewel of the Hill Country. I am a 8-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and that is my second largest accomplishment in life. Marrying my wife that I met here in Kerrville is the first. She is a first responder, so first responder, I hold that very near and dear to my heart. She's been with the police department for 14 years, but that's my wife. So I have done a lot in the community, or at least I think I have. I'm the past president of the Rotary Club of Kerrville. I'm on the board with the Hill Country Crisis Council, together with Hill Country Veterans, the past president for the Ingram Police Benevolent Foundation, and actually on a committee here at Schreiner University as well. So it is an honor to be standing here in front of you all this evening. It's an honor to talk about our city that I love so much, that I've met my wife in, like I said, and that's not something that happens very often in Kerrville. You hear people come here and they don't ever get to meet anybody. And I'm very fortunate that I met my wife when I was in jail, but that's another story for y'all another time. So it's actually, since y'all know what my wife does, I worked for Rusty Hairholzer for a little bit, and that's how we met. So it was a good meeting. So, you know, so also it's just we love it here. We have great amenities. We have a great city. We have great city staff, and we have great people, and we have a great facility that we're all here at tonight. Thank you, Dr. McCormick, Casey. Thank you, Schreiner, for hosting, and thank you to our three hosts as well. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Barbara Dewell Ferguson, and I am so pleased to be here. I want to thank Schreiner University, our moderators, and all of you for being here. This is wonderful to have a crowd like this tonight. I moved to Kerrville 17 years ago. My late husband and I had just retired from a real estate development company that we owned, and we developed residential home sites. And part of that also, we ran a water and sewer company and provided homes, over 300 homes with water and sewer services. So that is something that I think uniquely qualifies me to be on City Council. But just a year ago, I married my husband, Bill Ferguson, and it's kind of comical. You met Christy in the jail, and my husband, Bill, is a retired Border Patrol agent, and his out of his 32 years, the last 18 were in intelligence. And he gave me a thorough background check and made sure I passed before he was willing to marry a non-Texan, okay? But anyway, between the two of us, we have a blended family of 4 children, 4 grandchildren, all who live in the state of Texas. And children are very important to me. And really the straw that broke the camel's back and made me decide to run for City Council is when our council ignored a petition of 1,400 citizens asking them just to move books in the library that were obscene and move them to the adult section. And to me, that said, it's time for new leadership. If something as simple as that, a request to move the books, not to ban them, not to get rid of them, just move them, could not be adhered to when so many citizens ask for them. So that is one of my big issues, and I'll be talking later about another one, I'm sure. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. So we'll have Barbara start with the first question. What is your stance on increasing taxes and allocating budgeting differently in the future? And how would you ensure transparency and efficiency utilizing the utilization of taxpayer funds?
Okay, transparency is really important. And one of the aspects of it that's become clear to me is in our water here. We have a water situation that I think all of us know that the Hill Country's in a drought. And currently, we are on stage 1 here in the city in our water restrictions. The county's all on stage 3. The city also has touted a new well that came in, and it was wonderful to do that research for water, to go out and look for new water. We need to continue that. But the transparency that's missing, and this goes back into budgeting and everything, if we know what the situation is, we can understand why they're spending money where they're spending it. If we make it clear we have a water issue, I think all of you here are in favor of spending money to ensure that we have water that we need that's safe for the future.
Thank you. Jeff, you're next. Same question.
Transparency from the council, from the dais, is very needed by everybody that's up there. But on the taxes and raising taxes, I'm not for raising taxes, but we have to figure out a way, reading the budget, working the budget, which I have just a little bit of experience doing, but you know, work the budget, work with your city staff, your city manager, and your department heads when you're out there, so you can find the places, the discrepancies, the deficiencies in the budget, so you can come back and cut some taxes, cut some revenue out somewhere, trim a little bit of the fatted calf, so to say. Yep. Water situation, we all love it. Barbara hit on it. So it's a very key element in our community. You know, we're very fortunate to have an ASR well, the second city in the nation to have one, first in the state of Texas. To have 1 billion gallons of water for us to have here, that is.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Jeff again. Given the divided and volatile political climate, how can you and will you fairly represent all citizens of Kerrville, and what action will you take to do so?
Well, that seems like a topic that's come up a whole lot here recently. I had a conversation one day, and it was, what are you going to do? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you independent? It is a nonpartisan election for the city. That's our charter. We're a nonpartisan election. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, independent, donkey, goat, house cat, elephant, whatever. Barbara and I, one of the two of us, we're going to be your council person. And we're going to not only represent, or I'm not going to only represent place 2, but place 1, place 3, place 4, and every citizen in the city of Kerrville. Whether you vote for me or not, that's who I'm going to represent, because it's everybody that votes that gets out there, and that's who city council is supposed to represent.
Thank you.
It is a nonpartisan election, and I think all of us agree that we want to have representation on the city council, but we all need to also understand when we go to vote, who are we voting for? What are their principles? What do they stand for? How are they going to make decisions? Are they fiscally conservative, or are they, you know, more a tax and spend? And only through these kinds of forums can we get that kind of information out. I think it's critical that all the citizens are involved, and in turn, it is critical that as council members, we do represent everyone. But currently, our council is not listening to the people. When you take a petition of 1,400 signatures and put it before them and they totally ignore it, they are not listening to the citizens of this community. And I am for listening.
Thank you. Barbara, you'll start off this next question. How would you tackle the issue of affordable housing in Kerrville?
Well, affordable housing takes us back to taxes. I think we have a real problem with property taxes, and I'm sure all of you were pretty upset when you got your tax bill this fall. We had a huge increase. The city taxes were increased 12.5%. The appraisals, on average, raised it another 7.5%. That's 20% increase in city taxes. Now, the city can opt to adopt a no new revenue tax rate, which would mean the assessed values actually would bring in more additional funds, but you're not going to see an increase in your rate. And I think we have to look at that as it applies to housing, because what we pay in property taxes are passed on to renters, they're passed on to entry-level home buyers, and our taxes are excessive in preventing affordable housing.
Affordable housing, we all need it, we see it. There's several I see in the room that are in the same profession as I am. That the problem with it is our dirt in Kerr County is really expensive. Second most expensive dirt in the state. So affordable housing, let's just call it what it is, it's attainable. But the problem with it is we don't have the funds, our employers can't pay a working force employee to go out and be able to buy a house. We have the Lennar project going in, we're going to have 130 new units over there. but the prices have already gone up because of the price of materials. It's, so we've got to figure out a way to do that. You know, we get back to taxes, you know, we've got a great public facilities coming in. We can sell the old one, put that back on the tax rolls, you know, get out of the fire department office, quit paying $45,000 a year for rent. Well, that's money that we don't have to spend as a...
Thank you. Moving on to question 4, we'll begin with Jeff. What 3 steps would you take to guarantee public safety in Kerrville?
I wish my wife was here, I'd refer to her. But it's, you know, public safety, it's twofold. I don't think of only our police officers when we talk public safety. Public safety also involves our EMTs and our fire department. And I give those guys and gals kudos because the more often that you drive around or you see something or hear a siren, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be an ambulance going to assist, because that's the problems that we have here. But to ensure public safety, the first 3 things, let's make sure that we get them the tools that they need. Our city council that we have right now, they've given them new body cameras, they've given them tasers, they've given them the tools to do their job more effectively without having to go straight to a weapon, a lethal weapon, you know, to take care of a problem. The second thing is let's get them in a facility that's not full of black mold or anything that makes people sick. If y'all haven't toured the police department.
Thank you.
Public safety in Kerrville, first of all, I'd like to make a statement that I think we have got a police force and other emergency responders and all who are doing a wonderful job. I don't see a huge problem in Kerrville in our safety. Now, is it something we always have to pay attention to, that we have to stay on top of, that we have to keep them equipped? Absolutely. But I do think that one of the things we need to do better is on our pay, because it is true, if you cannot recruit them, if you cannot keep them here, because our cost of living is high and our current pay for those jobs is under the average of the area, then that becomes a real issue. So I think we do need to look at pay for our first responders, and that's probably where I would start.
Thank you. We'll begin question 5 with Barbara. What 3 actions would you undertake on the City Council to promote and expand local tourism as well as economic growth in Kerrville?
Well, I believe strongly that if we build a good Kerrville for all of our citizens who currently live here, if we have a wonderful place to live, a wonderful place to raise our families, with a future for our children and our grandchildren to look forward to, that they will be able to stay here, then we have a community that will draw people to us automatically. We don't have to go out and incentivize this group to come or that group to come. It is a wonderful place to live. That's why they're all wanting to come here now anyway. But we need to build on that. And first and foremost, put our citizens at the top of the list, meet their needs, and then the growth and the tourism will come naturally to a wonderful place to be.
Thank you.
We have a great city of Kerrville, but tourism, what I would do to increase tourism as a city council person, I'd work with the city staff. I'd get together with Julie over at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We would drive that. We have a wonderful river trail. We have a wonderful river. Kerrville hosts the 2nd largest triathlon in the state of Texas, right outside of Austin. We have so many people that come here, so much money is driven into Kerrville during that time. So I would start with working with staff and working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Second thing is that we could look at is we haven't had a new hotel in 20 years. Everybody talks about hotels. We need a hotel. The newest hotel we have is Holiday Inn. We need a convention center as well. That would draw more people in to come bring in their business to Kerrville, stay in our hotels, get an occupancy tax, and turn back.
Thank you. We're moving on to the closing statements now. So Jeff, would you begin?
So I made jokes when I was up here, but that's kind of who I am. I like to have fun. I go through life and, you know, Paul, 8 years in the Marine Corps doesn't compare to your time, sir, but you see a lot. And I know that Kerrville, there's a few veterans in Kerrville. Highest population per capita in the state of Texas in Kirk County. So it's kind of a nice thing to have here with our veterans. But it's, oh, you got me sidetracked. But, you know, coming here as a golf professional, doing various things, winding up with South Star Bank as a senior vice president, a business person, working with our local lenders, our other lenders, we all work well together, you know, and that's what it's all about, is teamwork. So I will go up, I will run as a city council person. If I'm fortunate enough to get elected, and early voting starts on April the 24th, by the way, I'm going to run it as a business, because that's what it is. City council has 2 public business meetings a month. You know, it's budgeting, it's meeting, setting policies and making sure the policies are abided by, and trusting your staff that you have in place. Letting those guys and gals run the departments, do what they do. Barbara said a while ago, we have a phenomenal first responders group here. Our police department, in my opinion, is second to none. Our fire department and our EMS crews are second to none. We are blessed to be in the hill country. We are blessed to have the natural resources that we have, and we're blessed to be in Kerrville. So, thank you.
Well, I'd like to say again, it's just been such a pleasure to be here and to have such a wonderful crowd turn out. To me, this is our government at its best, what we see right here tonight. And I would like to encourage all of you to stay engaged, to read more about the candidates, to find out what you can, because the decision you make here makes a big difference for the future. This is true here in Kerrville, it's true in our state, and it's true in our nation. And it has been said recently that if we lose Texas, we lose the nation. But it is also equally true, if we lose Kerrville to outside organizations who want to come here and change the character, the values, the faith, our families, then we have lost something precious. And I ask all of you to consider why you moved to Kerrville if you're new here. Because when I came here, it was because I valued what I found here. And I didn't come here to change that. I came here to enjoy it and to strengthen it. And so that's what I'm asking tonight, is that you will think about the Kerrville that you want for the future, for not only yourself, but if you're retired, your family might not be here. But think about the Kerrville you want for those young children who are still here in the community, who are going to grow up, and that you want them to be able to stay here and raise their families. And I ask you on May 6th or in early voting for your vote, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you on the City Council. And thank you all so much.
Thank you both for your statements. Let's give them a round of applause.
Here, sit right here.
Good evening. My name is Lyman. I'm another student here at Schreiner University, and I will be moderating the session between our 2 KISD District 2 candidates, Brandon Aery and Jack Stevens Jr. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement, 1 minute to respond to each question, and a 2-minute closing statement. These time limits are strict, and timekeepers will monitor the time. The timer will be visible to each candidate to keep them aware of how much time remains. If any candidate exceeds their allotted time, as the moderator, I have the right, according to the agreement each candidate have signed, to interrupt them, even if their thought has not been completed. Furthermore, it is essential that all responses focus solely on each candidate's position and their opinions, not other candidates. As the moderator, I may interrupt if any candidate I feel their response is straying from the subject. Candidates will not be allowed to interrupt, crosstalk, or question one another. If any such infraction does occur, I will pause the conversation and return the lost time to the candidate who was responding. Finally, I ask the audience to refrain from applauding or demonstrating support or objections for any candidate. This will help maintain a nonpartisan environment throughout the forum discussions. By random selection, I have here the first candidate who will be speaking. That is candidate Aery. You have a 2-minute opening statement.
Well, thank you all to the host for having us here. My name is Brandon Aery. I spent 11 years in the commercial construction industry. I moved back to Kerrville 4.5 years ago, and in 11 years I rose from an entry-level position to a vice president, and that was based on my work ethic. And I'm currently a business owner here in town too. So I know what it takes to lead. We have twins at Hal Peterson Middle School, and I see the issues that they're dealing with daily every time that they come home from school. I know what the challenges are, and I know how the decisions at the board level are impacting them every day. We know we have issues, and we have to be able to talk about those issues. We know that there's safety and security weak points in the school district that still aren't being addressed in a timely manner. There are obscene books that are being introduced into the classrooms and the libraries. They're still on the shelves there now, and there's more. And we still don't have safeguards in place to protect against those. The teachers are also dealing with behavioral issues with students, and they're not being empowered to deal with those. And it's not just at the middle school, it's at every grade level. We have to be able to support our teachers, and leadership in the schools needs to be able to do that too. And as a board, we need to have the oversight and give them the policies to be able to handle that. My daughter was exposed to a video of a man masturbating on a girl's cell phone in 6th grade, 12-year-old daughter, because we're not adhering to policies and procedures that are in place. And as a board, we need to make sure that we have oversight to ensure that doesn't happen. The student-to-teacher ratio is higher than state average here. We need to address that. The teacher salaries are lower than state average, even though, as y'all heard from the city council members, the high cost of living here is insane. So we need to address that. And we need to...
Thank you, Mr. Aery. Mr. Stevens, you will now give a 2-minute opening statement.
I'm Jack Stevens. I'm a 5-generation Kerrvillian. I've been here for the last 30 years, and after my time in the service, I'm a Naval Academy graduate, and spent 20 years in the Navy flying helicopters and as a naval officer. And I think the most important thing is I've been on the school board for 18 years working with the district and learning how it operates and being able to contribute what I can with my role as a board member. I want to tell you what's important to me are the kids. That's number one in this district. It's what we're all about. We teach the kids, and that's why we exist. The second most important thing is our most valuable asset, and that's the faculty. And we need to take care of them, and we need to keep them here. And finally, I'm very much in favor of the parents. The parents are the ones that have the kids, and parent-teacher relationships, which I would prefer to keep non-adversarial and more of a partnership type of arrangement, is key to the success of the school districts. In summary, my background in the district, I've got grandparents, and parents, and kids that all graduated from Tybee. My time in the service, where I was a trained leader and decision maker, and my years on the school board make me a unique candidate to continue working in the school district for the best of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Now, because you answered second, you'll answer first on this first question. What motivated you to run for the KISD school board, and what skills and what experience do you possess that would benefit the district? You have 1 minute to reply.
My motivation has been kids. I have kids. When I started years ago, I had kids in the school. They were little kids. And they were successful graduates. One's a doctor now, and the other one's finishing up her doctorate. I'm very happy with the Kerrville Independent School District, and my motivation for running is to continue with the programs that we've been putting in place and enhance and improve and go after things that are attainable. Better safety procedures, more attention to all the things that affect the community and the students on a daily basis. I'm very hopeful that you will see me as the person that has contributed to this community. We brought in the orchestra, we brought in the junior ROTC, we built a brand new middle school, and a whole lot of other projects that I've been involved with, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity.
My motivation to run is also the kids, and specifically my children. Like I said, I see what they're dealing with daily, and I want to make sure that my children have the same experiences that my wife and my father-in-law talk about graduating from Tybee. You know, I'm concerned about the direction of the district and the district preparing them to move on for their careers after college or after high school, and even if they do pursue college, getting ready for the degrees. So the skills that I have, like I said, I was in commercial construction, and more specifically, I worked on public schools and university projects. So I've worked around superintendents, I've worked around staff, and understand the needs to be able to build and protect students in school. And my knowledge of financial management, scheduling will be a huge benefit to working on the school board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I now have a second question. Mr. Aery, you will start first. What is your position on school safety measures, and how would you go about enhancing them, including mental health support, substance abuse, and campus emergencies and security?
So the school safety is a big issue with me. We have made big strides. The SROs, we have some, but we don't have enough. We need SROs at every campus. The school marshal program, if we finally are getting that introduced at the beginning of next year, the district is. But there's still issues. That the security film that's being discussed, that the $400,000 contract was for the district-wide campuses, that's just to keep intruders from being able to get into the school. It's not bulletproof. And so if that security film is only being applied at secure vestibules, that's an issue. Nothing's going to stop a shooter from shooting out glass and jumping into the classroom. So we need first and foremost to make sure that security film is being applied to every perimeter glass of the schools. We need access control and card readers at every entrance going in, security cameras for the teachers and for the police department and the sheriff's department in case there is an active shooter event. And we need to be coordinating with all local law enforcement to be able to ensure that we're practicing for those events in case it does happen.
Thank you.
Same question, I presume.
Yes, sir, same question.
No, in the Navy, I went to the Naval Safety School, graduated from there, and was a safety officer at Patuxent River Naval Air Station for 3 years, so I know how to spell safety. It is foremost on my mind. It is the #1 issue here. We have put in an awful lot of effort right now into the secure vestibules, the perimeter fencing, the bulletproof and glass film and other safety measures that we can. We want to prevent the guy from entering. God help us if it ever happens, but we also have programs in place for monitoring within the schools, and we're instituting a school marshal program. I've been on the district safety committee for a number of years, and it's exciting to work with the local police force and the sheriffs and the community members and faculty that serve on that committee, and the ideas that come out. And we're investigating those like crazy, and we are within the budgetary constraints. That's #1, and we're after it.
And you'll be asking this next, or you'll be answering this next question.
No, I get to ask the questions.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on teaching students controversial topics such as critical race theory or sexual education?
You know, that's an interesting question. Critical race theory is a college-level program that I don't want to touch. Matter of fact, when I first heard about that, one of the first things I did was I wrote my alma mater and I said, are you guys teaching critical race theory? And that's the Naval Academy, and they said, negative, we are not. And we are not teaching it here. And I am prepared to stand up and face the guillotine if we ever cross that line. That's a college level theory subject that's fine to study, but you know, I'm not for trying to convince people that they're bad because they're black or white or whatever. You know, I think the interesting thing about our school system is we don't get to choose and pick who we want to teach. We teach everybody, and we're all equal in the eyes of the teachers. So it's a system where everybody counts, and we don't pick on anybody.
Mr. Aery, your response to the question?
Critical race theory, no, we don't need to be teaching that in our schools, neither diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you know, it bothers me, my son did bring home a critical race theory book from Starkey Elementary on the library shelves, and this was after it was banned in the state of Texas, and that's actually what launched me into the books. So regarding sexual education, I think that's the parents' place to really provide that education to the child. I know there's instances where the school's going to have to do it, but what's happening right now with human sexuality is there's instructional resources and books that are on the open shelves of the school library, and that's violating my rights as a parent. We have to follow Chapter 28 of the Education Code, and that's the parental opt-in to be able to introduce that material to the children. But because those books are on the shelves right now, in the open shelves for any student to read, my rights are being infringed upon. So what we need to do is we need to get those materials back behind the librarian's desk and then let the parents sign a waiver if they want your children to be introduced to that material. But it's a parent's rights place for me.
Thank you, Mr. Aery. The next question, how would you support parents, teachers, and staff in the Kerrville Independent School District? And what strategies would you implement to attract and retain high-quality educators and staff?
Well, parents have to be partners in the school district. I mean, that's why it's an education philosophy, it's an education code. We need to figure out a way to get parents more involved, and that's a struggle that's been happening for years. So first and foremost, we have to get them involved, otherwise we won't be successful as a school district. Now, supporting and retaining high-quality teachers, we have to empower them to deal with the behavior. You ask any teacher, and the reason they're probably quitting is because of the disrespect those students are providing to the children. So we need to get leadership to empower them and follow the student handbooks in the at all campus levels. We need to be able to pay them better salaries because the high cost of living in Kerrville, like I said, salaries are below state average for teachers in Kerrville. And then we need to provide them professional development opportunities. And we need to make sure that they are being empowered to be able to teach the kids real education versus putting all the pressures of teaching to the test on them.
Thank you, Mr. Aery. Mr. Stevens.
I think the key in this question is about teacher retention. And just to give you some numbers, the problem is serious. 40,000 teachers a year are getting out of the profession, whether that's retirement or going to do something else. At that same time, 18,000 are getting new certificates. Now tell me there isn't a delta there. So we've got an uphill battle. We need to do a couple of things that I see. One is to make sure, and we are working very hard to make sure we offer competitive salaries for the teachers, that we make it worth their while to be here. The other thing is, and I think it's very important, the culture and the climate in the schools has to be very positive, that these teachers know they're coming to a safe workplace and be a place where they will enjoy their profession. So that's one of the efforts that I'd like to see take place, is improving climate and culture in the schools so that the teachers come here.
We have one more question left on this test, and that is, what is your vision for KISD over the next 5 years, and what 3 priorities would you implement towards achieving that vision?
You know, our vision was a statement that I got to work on with the school district, the community, and parents a few years back to be the educational leader in the Hill Country. And that holds true. That's where I want to see us head. We are, and we will maintain, and I want to be a part of that continuing forward to get even better. We want to be the educational leader in the Hill Country. That's our vision. The other part of the question was 3 things that...
Yes, sir. 3 priorities you would implement towards achieving that vision.
You know, there's a lot of things that are happening. I think one of them has just taken place. We have got a new superintendent that I'm looking forward to working with, who is an absolute jewel, an incredible guy. I think the other thing that I mentioned in the last question was making sure that our climate and school cultures are at maximum so that they are the place where teachers want to come and where students want to go to school. And I ran out of time. I'll give you number 3 later.
I agree. We need to be the educational leader in the county. We are the largest school district in the county, and unfortunately, Ingram ISD is outpacing Kerrville. And if you look at the TEA accountability ratings, they're outpacing us on many different levels. One of those things are college-ready graduates. They're at 87% college-ready graduates versus the 53% in Kerrville ISD. So I think we can fix that in Kerrville by helping maintain interventionists that are in the school system now and getting more tutoring to get them prepared to be able to pass these tests. Trade program, there is a huge need for a trades program in Kerrville. The community knows that we do not have enough skilled tradesmen in Kerrville, and not everybody is ready to go on to college or college material. So I think we need to strengthen up the trades program here, offer construction classes, partner with community businesses to get in there and help work with these teachers and kids and give them an opportunity to pursue a career and stay in Kerrville.
Thank you, Mr. Aery. We will now make our 2-minute closing statements. You'll be starting.
Well, thank you. Again, I decided to run because of my children, and I want them to have the best education experience here and be prepared for the future after they graduate from Tybee. And I want them to speak highly of the school district just like my father-in-law and wife do. And I think my experience in construction gives me the unique insight and ability to understand the inner workings of the district and be prepared to tackle the challenges that are going to come my way. And again, my kids are in school, so I'm seeing what's happening every day, and I'm hearing about it. We have issues here. We need to address the issues, and we need to address them in a timely manner. And some of those issues we've covered in my opening statement, but I think if we have the right members on the board that provide the oversight that's needed, then we'll be able to tackle those and move forward. But you know, the children are first and foremost the priority, and we have to strengthen this school district up to make sure that the kids are getting the education they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aery. Mr. Stevens, your 2-minute closing remarks.
You know, I was talking about our new superintendent and looking forward to working with him, and I can remember the interview process we went through. I would ask the question, what do you want us to do as a board? And to the man, the answer I got back was, let me do my job. And we hire a superintendent to run the school district, and we have got an outstanding one coming to you. You will absolutely love this guy. That being said, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to help him get involved in the community. My years of experience here, my background in the Navy, and my heritage with the Hill Country make me ideal candidate to be able to communicate with our new superintendent and tell him what's going on and turn him on to the right people and the right avenues to make a statement here to keep our education on the upslope and keep improving. He's good with working with people. He understands climate and culture, and I'm anxious for this school district to keep going up and improve and teach all children, including your children and anybody else that has children and grandchildren here. We love you, and that's what we are here for, is to teach children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. This concludes our candidate forum. Please give our candidates a round of applause.